This avalanche safety report is brought to you by MTN-TV. Learn more at MTN-TV.com.
Welcome to MTN-TV and the weekly avalanche report, which we're winding down on. I'm Shannon Lukens with Brian Lazar from Colorado Avalanche Information Center. Hi, Brian.
Hi there. How you doing?
Good. Well, we should be slowing down, but it sounds like it could be a busy weekend.
Yeah, we are slowing down. We're probably a month ahead of schedule in terms of our spring melt off. And this is really illustrated by looking at our statewide snow tell map. So here you can see the recent warm weather has really taken a toll on our snowpack. So you can see even in our what were once healthier snowpacks in the northern mountains, we have now dropped down into the kind of the 80s in terms of percent of long-term median. We're down in the southern mountains, we're down into the 30s and 40s. So it looks more like mid-May out there, particularly at the lower elevations as opposed to mid-April. And this statewide average snowpack graph really tells the story. This green line is our long-term or 30-year median snowpack across the state of Colorado. The black line is this year. And you can see after we got our little brief uptick a couple weeks ago with our last winter storm, we have seen a precipitous decline over the last couple of weeks with a lot of really warm weather and really strong April sunshine. So it puts our statewide snowpack at about 68% of long-term mean. And what all these warm temperatures have meant over the last week or so is a lot of wet avalanche activity driving the avalanche danger, which comes in a couple varieties, as this photo from the Crested Butte Avalanche Center shows a loose wet avalanche running a short distance and then triggering a wet slab avalanche. And you can see that we've seen a lot of this across the state. Here's a good example from the San Juans with a sizable loose wet avalanche gouging down towards the ground and even picking up some dirt there. And some of these avalanches have grown large enough to pick up enough debris to cause injury or maybe even worse to some folks. And here's a good example from kind of out near the Indian Peaks where we've got loose wet avalanches coming out of the rocky terrain and then a wet slab over on the left-hand side of the image. This is what's been driving the danger. But now that we're getting some cooler temperatures coming in starting on Thursday, you can see that we have moved to generally safe avalanche conditions across most of the state sitting here on Thursday as we put the wet avalanche concerns a little bit into the rear view mirror with these colder temperatures. You can see we have moderate avalanche danger up in the Park Range north of Steamboat, and that is for the new flavor of avalanches. The Park Range is going to be on the leading edge of new snowfall that starts on Thursday, and that's going to really change things.
So it has been warm and it looks safe from the graphs, but it's going to be still dangerous this weekend because we are hearing about the big prediction of a lot of snow.
Yeah, so it's going to drive the avalanche danger. Again, now we are not driving the avalanche danger because of wet avalanche concerns. We're driving it because of new storm snow. Winter's not quite ready to let go of us, and this yellow splotch in the Park Range is just a precursor of what's to come. You can see here our modeled snowfall, again, starts on Thursday. You can see those green areas up in the Park Range, but quickly by Thursday night, the cold front arrives and snowfall spreads throughout most mountain areas. We have a widespread, 8 to 12 inches, which are indicated by these red areas. Portions of the Front Range, particularly east of the Continental Divide from about Berthoud Pass north through Rocky Mountain National Park, could see as much as 2 feet of snow. And so our concerns are going to switch from wet to new storm snow instabilities. We could even see considerable avalanche danger appear on the map in places that pick up 2 feet of snow if that does pan out. And those avalanches are going to come in the form of loose, dry sloughing or all the new snow sliding on the underlying crust. Some of them are going to break as soft slab avalanches, and the most dangerous slopes are going to be these wind-loaded slopes, particularly at the higher elevation, close to ridge lines and in cross-loaded gully features. Like this avalanche here, you can see broke right up near the ridge line. And these are the kinds of things we're going to be watching for as we move into Friday and Saturday with a lot of new and drifting snow. Look for wind-drifted pillows, particularly at the higher elevations along ridge lines and in cross-loaded terrain features. That is going to drive the danger. We're going to see a lot of moderate avalanche danger for both loose, dry avalanches and wind slab avalanches. And some places could even hit level 3 or considerable avalanche danger if they get more than about 20 inches or 2 feet of snow. Again, we switch back to spring. You can see these cool temperatures clipping Colorado as the storm rolls through Saturday. And then by Sunday, these brown colors start to creep back into Colorado, indicating really warm temperatures and a return of sunshine. That's going to be a lot of fresh, cold snow exposed to very warm April temperatures and very strong April sunshine. By the time we get from Sunday afternoon and into the early part of the next work week, all this will shed in the form of wet avalanche activity. So again, storm snow avalanches, wind drifted slopes were going to be the most dangerous Friday through Saturday into the early part of Sunday. By the time we get into the last half of Sunday and into the early part of next week, it's going to be a flip again to wet avalanche concerns. So just pay attention and check your forecast before you head out.
Okay, Brian, what I heard from this is winter is not quite ready to let go of us. That's what I heard you say.
Not yet. It may not be our last little tango with winter, but it's certainly not quite ready to let go of the cold snow and temperatures yet.
Well, thank you for keeping us informed. From Colorado Avalanche Information Center, Brian Lazar.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
And you can always check out the conditions at colorado.gov/avalanche. I'm Shannon Lukens for Mountain TV.